Michigan's parole and probation agents are under fire right now. Several high-profile cases in Metro Detroit have put them and the Department of Corrections in the spotlight, a place they don't want to be right now.
The agents say they feel overwhelmed, and they insist they're being blamed for the problems. 7 Action News reporter Michael Rosenfield takes a closer look at the system in the wake of some big-time blunders.
Heartbreaking vigils, devastated families, murder scenes in peaceful neighborhoods, images we can't forget. Crimes committed by an array of suspects who could have been locked up, highlighting possible issues with the parole and probation system in the state of Michigan. There are some 70,000 people on parole or probation in the state right now, and just 1,300 parole and probation agents. 9 agents statewide are on suspension, including 5 in Metro Detroit, in the wake of several high-profile fiascos over the last several months.
Our agents feel like they've been scapegoated.
November, 80-year-old Nancy Daly is found murdered in her Royal Oak home.
We walked through the dining room, and Nancy was lying face down on the floor.
The suspects, Alan Wood and Tanya Watson, parole absconders. 2 parole agents were suspended. January, 12-year-old Khadijah Davis is shot and killed inside her Detroit home after 2 suspects opened fire outside the door. One of the suspects, Joshua Brown, should have been on an electronic tether at the time, but it was never activated. His parole agent and the supervisor both suspended.
I miss her so much. I just need her to come back.
And just last month, teenager Tucker Cipriano charged with killing his father and severely beating his mother and brother. Cipriano had been a parole absconder, something he admitted to in court.
I didn't show up to my last probation meeting, but I was talking to my probation officer about that and everything.
That probation agent now suspended. Ray Holman from UAW Local 6000, which represents state workers including parole and probation agents, says the caseloads are too heavy.
The agents are being asked to do more with less. And you're talking about a job where people's lives literally are at risk.
But the Department of Corrections says there are enough agents, and with an average caseload of 54, agents are not being overworked. Still, following the high-profile mistakes, the DOC has begun an 8-point plan.
It was started shortly after Miss Daly's murder in Royal Oak.
Russ Marlin, spokesperson for the department and himself a former parole and probation agent, says the plan includes bringing back annual audits to check each and every case to make sure procedures are being followed. The DOC had moved away from these audits for the last 4 years to free up money and resources. Experts say that raises concerns.
The audit process helps to address performance issues.
Kathleen Schaefer, a former parole and probation agent who worked her way up at the DOC over 26 years, now serves as a probation consultant. She says the fact that the DOC did away with annual audits may have been a factor in the recent mistakes.
If the office audits were not being conducted on an annual basis, that could explain why the cases were not being effectively managed by the staff.
Neither the union, which represents the parole and probation agents, nor the DOC would comment on the recent suspensions or the mistakes that may have been made. But all of those cases under fire, the Nancy Daly murder, the shooting death of Khadijah Davis, and the savage attacks on the Cipriano family are being looked at by internal affairs.
It's not like we're saying that the outcome could have been prevented, but in every case, we have certain things that are required and certain time frames when they're required to do that. And if the person supervising that parolee didn't do that, maybe the outcome would have been different.
One of the potential mistakes Internal Affairs is looking at, did the agents try to make contact with their parolees or probationers within 2 days of someone not checking in? The agents are supposed to either find them or get a warrant for their arrest. Meantime, the 8-point plan is also meant to crack down on absconders and includes making more beds available to make it easier to return absconders to custody, and improving the department's website for people to submit tips on the whereabouts of absconders as well. We'll have a link to that on WXYZ.com. I'm Michael Rosenfield, 7 Action News.